If there's something most collectors like, it's having a nice look at their collection. But every now and then you get a little frisky and you want to see other collections too. But why would you want to see something if it's not yours? I mean, I love my toilet, but not to go shots fired on you, I don't want to see yours. Well, video games have a few differences from toilets, with one of the most notable ones being how wildly different one collection can be from another. And not just in terms of what you have, but how you display it. Collections can vary from something that clearly has an aesthetic in mind to, still working on it. There's no getting around the fact that game room tours are heavily requested, and anybody with the channel can tell you this. I always like how a lot of people will introduce their game room tours like they're giving into some kind of ransom demands. Well, they took everything from me, except my games, fittingly enough, so I guess it's time to do a game room tour. People used to ask me for game room tours all the time, but then they seem to just give up. I feel bad saying no, but it's just not my style. I also got a sneaking suspicion that some people think I have more games than I actually do. There's a handful of shots I do of my games, and that's all my games. Oh wait, almost forgot my Game Boy Advance games too. I mean, it's a lot of games to me, but everybody may not feel that way. But hold on a second there, wise guy, you may be thinking. A game room tour is about more than just quickly showing what somebody has. It's also about why they have it. It can be a great way to hear stories about the things in somebody's collection, quick little stories if you will. I tend to be more interested in the videos where the person will pull some of the games out and say something about them. Maybe an interesting tidbit about how they got it or what they think of the game. It always seems insulting to a game when it gets passed over. 3 games in a row were pulled out before this one, and then nope, that is just brutal. Then there's the times where somebody's going through a particular console's library and you wonder if they're going to have a certain game or not. I can't tell you the number of times I've had my fingers crossed hoping somebody will have Rocket Knight Adventures and oh, they have it subscribed. Or maybe you go the other way with it. There's a game you're proud to own that makes you think, I respect this YouTuber and all, but if I owned Super Monkey Ball 2 and they didn't, well, I wouldn't say it makes me a cooler gamer than them in a way, but deep down I kinda know it's true. I think one of the most interesting things people get out of a game room tour is to see how the person's collection matches up with the rest of the content on their channel. For example, maybe a channel is dedicated to Super Nintendo games, so seeing that their collection has a bunch of Sega Genesis games in it would be pretty interesting, especially depending on which Genesis games made the cut. Or maybe because I focus on retro games, it would be interesting for people to know which more modern games I own. What does me owning both Ori games tell ya? What's decidedly less suspenseful when it comes to seeing which games people have is complete collections. Complete Nintendo 64 collection, eh? But do they have Super Mario 64? Maybe they forgot it. Nope. Third game they showed. Alright, but what about how everything is displayed? How somebody chooses to display something can tell you a lot about what they think of it. Quick little test for you. Which of the following do you think I care more about? Option number 1, this arcade stick, or option number 2. Yeah, most of you probably guessed this one correctly. It's the Timmy cartridge. Maybe there's something in our collection we cherish that we'd like to have displayed better. Just gotta get this crap out of here. Now we're looking at a game room. Much better. A lot of us are constantly looking for ways to spruce up our game displays, so we turn to game room tours for inspiration and ideas. For example, a lot of people have asked me about these neon signs I have, and lucky for every person who's asked, these have been on eBay for years at a pretty low price. Sometimes the most interesting things in a collection are whatever's most unusual, the oddball items, something you weren't expecting to see. I mean, I can show you my copy of Contra 3, great, it looks exactly like the one you have, but what the heck is this? Probably the most unusual thing I own. This is a Neo Geo arcade board put in a wooden case that's been consoleized so that it can be easily hooked up to a TV. It's actually made by Analog Interactive, the folks who would go on to be more well known for their FPGA consoles. What I've always enjoyed is the creative solutions for how to display certain things. Like this seller on Etsy I found who made these little display stands for N64 games, or maybe something like, screw it, I ran out of shelf space on the end here, so I guess I'm done collecting Wii U games. Also, what if you don't have a game room? For some people, it might just be a game shelf, a game nook, or a game stash. You may not have the room for games to be in their own dedicated room. Typically, when you see game room tours, it's people who have a ton of games. And it seems like the most popular game room tours are the ones that show off a lot of games. I've never done a video showing off my couple of DS games, but something tells me it wouldn't go viral. Hey, does anybody remember that video where I talked about collecting culture? Well, I think all the videos you see of massive collections definitely have an influence. And again, I'm not here to say somebody should or shouldn't have a massive collection. Like many things, it might work well for some while not for others. I'm merely saying that constantly seeing videos of large collections can have an influence on how we view collecting, either consciously or subconsciously, which may motivate us to have certain collecting habits. Having lots of games has been so normalized, and even collections like mine are considered small by some compared to others, whereas once upon a time it would have been something people thought you should be sent to an asylum for. I guess my fear would be that some people might feel like their collection is inadequate because it's only X amount of games. Who cares? The number of games you own is pretty arbitrary anyways. What number would we even be trying to get to? As long as your collection is a good fit for you, then there's no reason why you shouldn't be happy with it. It's kind of a tricky thing, game room tours. They might come across as boastful. Nobody wants to appear boastful. I mean, you think it brings me joy making everybody else's collection seem like complete garbage every time I flash this Timmy cartridge? What if somebody just genuinely wants to share what they have? That's typically how liking things goes. You want to share them. Just ask my aunt her collection of old plates and me every time I've gone over there. But being a gamer, whenever you've gone to a friend's house who's also a gamer, what's something you can pretty much guarantee will happen? That's right, they'll show you their games and you'll probably be interested in that. It's a great way to spark conversation about games, and you're probably curious which games they've chosen to own. Oh, you also own Samba de Amigo? That's why we're such good friends. It only makes sense that this mindset of seeing people's game collections could translate to surfing through videos online as well. Ultimately, a lot of it just comes down to loving games, whether it be collecting or playing them. When it comes to doing video game things that people who love video games love to do, what haven't we done? Played games, collected games, cleaned games, researched games online, looked for games out in the wild, listened to video game music independent of the games, started games we haven't finished. You name it and we've done it. It's just part of the hobby. But with all that said, I'd be curious to hear what your reasons are for either liking or not liking game room tours. And just for fun, if something sticks out, let us know one specific thing you remember seeing in a game room tour that really resonated with you. For me, I once saw somebody try to light a game on fire during a game room tour. Not the greatest idea, but at least it was trying something different. I've always felt game room tours could use a bit more variety. Maybe turn a game room tour into a dance routine. Hey, I tell you what, if I ever do a game room tour, maybe that'll be how. Okay, so for your answers and anything else you'd like to say, leave a comment and I will see ya in the next video.
He's the retro bird, yeah, and he's talking about video games.